of wise choices. Yep, you're in the right place. I love this. I was on my way to town, had some errands to do. I get a text from Conrad. Conrad says, "Hey, breaking news. Big name. We just recently saw an AEW high profile match with one of the top women wrestlers in the world. 9 days later, she's working for WWE. And hey, there's a lot to know, so I can't think of anybody better to go to when you want to know anything about Lucha Libre in general, Mexican wrestling for sure. My buddy, Konnan. Konnan, how are you, man?
Good, Eric. Uh, glad that glad to chop it up with you once again.
It's always fun. I always learn something.
Hmm.
Sometimes I used to chop it up with you and it was different.
Right,
And it was just different.
right.
But no matter how heated it got or how frustrated I got, I always learned something. So some things never change.
Right.
So Conan, big news. Stephanie McCourt. I just set it up. She just wrestled in AEW 9 days ago. Mercedes Monet, high profile match. She looked actually good. I think I commented on it that she really stood out to be in that match. But 9 days later, she's in WWE. You know anything about the background on this, man?
Uh, I don't know much about the background. I can tell you about her if you want to know a little bit more about her.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So basically, she's from Chile. She's not Mexican, and she basically came into the country about 10 years ago because she was dating a guy called Ricky Marvin. Now, Ricky Marvin was actually a guy I was gonna recommend for WCW because he was incredible, high flyer, incredible worker. But CMLL convinced him to stay. Bro, do you remember the time that we had a meeting with the owner of Arena Mexico, Paco Alonso, that he
Oh,
was
of course.
yeah, and
We
he
had
showed
that
up
meeting in Orlando.
right, and he showed up drunk.
Yeah, he brought me some nice gifts, though.
Yeah. And so I got mega heat after that because he accused me of talking to you. Too bad he's passed away, but uh, he accused me of telling you that I didn't want to work with CMLL, and I go, bro, I don't have that type of power, you know. And but anyways, we had a lot of heat after that because he was convinced that I somehow convinced you, and I thought to myself, well, maybe it probably didn't work to your benefit to show up drunk. But anyways, so so the thing with Stephanie Vacker is that she came about 10 years ago. She was dating Ricky Marvin, who's a fantastic wrestler. Now, just so you know, CMLL is very old school. They don't really do a lot of run-ins. They don't really do a lot of uh, like in rings. They don't do a lot of storytelling. It's just like straight wrestling, right? Like they're very old school, and so a lot of great wrestlers come out of there. So she went into a system where AAA is more about entertainment, right? I always give this analogy, and bro, do you remember when Jim Duggan would come out in WCW, the pop that he would get?
Oh, yeah.
Is usually the biggest of the night. Yeah, he didn't do much. He didn't have to do much. And I look at the same way. You can have a million great 5-star matches. And like for a while, I was into giving the public like 5 and 4-star matches. But that doesn't really draw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you got to give them a potpourri, a hardcore match, ladies match, a fucking championship match, high flyers match, etc. So our company is very different than CMLL. Like they're very old school. And so she went into that system where they train people, to wrestle, not to be entertainers. And so just a little backstory on her. So Ricky Marvin was one of her trainers who's excellent, excellent wrestler. And she had some other really good wrestlers like Ultimate Guerrero. I don't know if you remember him. He's the
Sure.
guy that showed up and they made him put on a mask that didn't fit. So she had really good training and really good wrestler. And here's a problem I have a lot of times with girls that are short because she's really short, like maybe 5'3". A lot of times I have problems with girls that are really short because they're not physical enough. They're already small, but they're not. Their physicality doesn't translate. She's very different. She's short, but her physicality translates.
Hmm.
Now I'm thinking I know that WWE for years has been talking about him for different reasons. They haven't done it. I know that they're very interested in the Mexico market. They just haven't pulled the trigger for whatever reason yet. And I would assume that they don't really have any Mexican female wrestlers except for remember that girl and I think she's got some sort of ailment. Uh, I think her name is Raquel Rodriguez,
Yes.
the tall one that would do the lat thing,
Yep.
and she's about the only one, and she wasn't trained in Mexico, you know, so I think that fits into the we want to go to Mexico and we want to have Mexican stars. We don't really have a female Mexican star. That's what I'm thinking, right? And I just think that Stephanie Vacker probably got very good advice, and there's nothing against Tony because anytime you say anything about AEW, hello.
No, I'm here. And hey, brother, just want to let you know your cameras went dark. I don't know if you.
Okay, let me see what's going on here. Wait 1 second. I'm sorry.
No, hey, don't worry. No, we'll talk a little bit more about the impact on AEW, and I wasn't even aware if in fact Tony Khan was even attempting to negotiate or wanting to negotiate. So this might not be a battle of that both companies wanted her and only one got her. And I don't mean to suggest that
Right.
until we know more. But it is interesting that, I mean, you can't not talk about the coincidence of 9 days ago there, she was working with the top
Well,
woman on the card, and now she's over here. So
well,
there's,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I don't know how much she followed AEW. I'm thinking because you can't get AEW in Mexico, I believe. I think you have to like watch it on YouTube. I'm thinking somebody gave her very good advice. So let's look at the facts. Okay. Can you still see me?
oh, I can see you, I can hear
Okay.
you, and I'm waiting
All
for
right.
facts.
All right. Here's the facts. Brian Pillman Jr. was treated like a J-bro. Okay, I remember in his own city he got fucking dissed. I go, really? That's a real smart way to get this guy over. He was just basically dissed. Look how he's doing in NXT. Do you watch NXT or no?
Occasionally.
Okay, they make him look like a star. They feature him. They give him a lot of promo time. Sean Spears, what did they do with him in NXT? Absolutely nothing. He went over there. Look at him now, right?
Yep.
Ethan Page, who I've always thought was a great performer because I worked with him. I had a feud with him. Well, my group was called LAX, and they had a feud with him and this other guy, Josh Alexander. And I knew that he was very talented. What they do while he was in AEW? Absolutely nothing. Now look at him now. I think he just won the NXT championship, right?
Oh, well, shout out to Josh Alexander. I've worked with him a couple different times, not with
Right.
him necessarily in the ring, but at the same events. And he's a classy guy. And he's a great talent too. Great talent.
He is. He is. And so they were partners. And so him and Ethan Page, they were called like the North because they're from Canada. And then they had Dragon Lee, who's Rush's brother, right? They had Rush beat him up. They fucking took off his, like, they just jobbed him out. And I remember, so he went to fucking, um, what do you call this? To WWE, and now he's in the LWO with Rey Mysterio, right? Like, look at Jade Cargill, bro. Phenomenal talent. They didn't know what to do with her. She left. Everybody that's been picked up by WWE from AEW, it's going way better than it was in AEW.
You know
Okay?
what, Konnan? It's
Yeah.
interesting, and that's a great point. You've obviously thought through this quite well. But this morning, we were recording the podcast with Conrad, and I said, "Hey, did you read that article, sports article, Shad Khan, talking about how he's basically sending a message to his team, his coaching staff? You know, things are going to have to change. You cannot rely on free agency anymore." And
Right.
it made me think, I wonder if Tony's reading that and thinking, maybe I should apply that same logic, because Tony's whole thing is signing, WWE people sign. Well, those are the WWE people, no disrespect at all, but they've kind of rounded the curve in WWE, career wise, health wise, whatever. Um, they're on their way out. Great. Stop at AEW, make a fortune, have some fun, work with some people you enjoy. Absolutely. God bless you. I'm jealous. But other than those, there's a handful of those situations, small handful. The rest of the talent that comes from WWE to AEW is just getting, I mean, it's a career ender. And you're
Yeah.
right. Big
That's
Cardinals.
where
Cody
that
Rhodes going back started
Cody
everything.
Rhodes is another one. CM Punk is another one. Bro, when CM Punk came in, my biggest argument was that, okay, so let's say Conor McGregor comes back to UFC, right? They had him in a match with Chandler, who's a star. They didn't have him against fucking, Conrad Thompson. You know what I'm saying? Same thing when CM Punk went in there, bro. One of his first feuds was against Lee Moriarty. Ooh, I was like,
That's
what? Why isn't this
and,
guy
and,
wrestling?
and people, I'd lose my shit when I would see that stuff, and I go, I said, because Punk's not moving any needles here. There's
Right?
nothing happening here,
Who
and
wants
everybody's
to?
like, oh, he hates CM Punk. Oh, he hates AEW. No, I'm pointing on the fucking fact that you bring somebody in like CM Punk, and he's basically putting over jobbers.
Right,
Okay, that's a little harsh. You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
It, it,
right,
it
right.
makes zero
Exactly.
sense.
And it wasn't just him; it was a whole bunch of guys. And then he threw out this little thing. He goes, "Well, I wanted to come back to work with the mid card guys." That sounded like something Tony convinced him to do. Why would you be coming? Because I want to help the young talent. That's not money, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that everybody from Punk to Rhodes to everybody I just mentioned, it's gotten way better. And if you're a wrestler, you've got to be thinking, where do I want to go here, where careers go to flounder for the most part, or do I want to go over here where they're using people right? You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I mean, you get the quick payday in AEW, no doubt about it. And
right, and
if that's your jam and that's all you really want,
right,
make that decision. But if you
but
want to see how far you can go, that's not the place to do it.
you work there, bro. You know how it is. So, bro, here's the problem, bro. Their hardcore fan base, which is very basically fanatical, fucking nerd geek beta males. Everything they do is right. And if you or me or anybody else, the old heads, as they refer to us, yeah, well, these old heads have done something and they've learned something. Maybe you could partake of their wisdom and get better. But no, oh, they're trying to be relevant. They're trying to get a Legends contract. Those are tired tropes. But I don't really, I read it because it's on my timeline. But I don't really listen to all that white noise, Eric, because they're the minority. They're hardcore fans who are
Yep.
watching this every day, and their whole life revolves around it, right?
Yep.
The majority doesn't get into that shit. They don't give about that shit, and that's what matters. You got to serve the majority. What I think Tony, one of his biggest mistakes is he's overserved his hardcore to keep them happy. Okay, that's cool. How about the rest of the people? You know what I'm saying? But
No, I do, and the numbers bear it out. Brandon Thurston over at WrestleNomics really, really can't say enough great things about Brandon. His analysis of the business in terms of ratings and attendance and actual numbers. He's credible as hell. He puts his information out there. He doesn't spin it. He doesn't editorialize it. He doesn't use it to prove his point. He just gives you the information and you make up your own
right,
conclusions. And I respect the hell out of people that do that because even in mainstream news, that's very hard to find. And
right.
Brandon does a great job. But the numbers that
So
I
so
saw that Brandon, go
yeah,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your
No, I was
thought.
just saying the numbers that Brandon put out there are definitive. AEW is overserving their hardcore audience, completely ignoring. I don't know that they're ignoring them, or they just don't know how to attract them. I think it's probably more the latter. But they're overserving that hardcore audience because that's all they know how to do, and the rest of the audience has shunned them, and they're not even able to hold on to the hardcore audience they do have because those numbers, according to Brandon Thurston's research, are deteriorating year over year over year.
So let me see if I got this right. Eric Bischoff, the only guy to ever beat Vince McMahon, 83 weeks, the name of your show.
In a row.
There's nothing you could learn from him. Absolutely nothing you could learn from him. He's just tired, washed over, a has been. There's nothing you could learn from him. Bro, I'll give you an example. Like, do you follow any sports, Eric?
I follow football, particularly the
Okay.
Steelers. I'm getting into cricket, believe it or not. I love cricket.
All right. So I'm gonna give you a Steelers name. Uh Terry Bradshaw, right?
Yes,
Old
I
school.
was living in Pittsburgh his rookie year.
All right. So Terry, I actually met him. I used to live in Miami, and when they would go to the Orange Bowl, I worked in the Orange Bowl, and I would go out and wait for them after the when football wasn't that big in the '70s, and they all security rushed them to the fucking bus, like they actually walked out and walked to the bus, right?
Wow, like high school.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so I met Terry at the Super Bowl, and he was really cool, and I took a picture with him, which I still have. But anyways, if Terry was doing a podcast, right, you wouldn't be telling him, "Hey, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're retired. Go fuck yourself." You know what I'm saying? It's like super disrespectful. But anyways, so let me go back to Stephanie Backer. So I don't know if you knew this, but she was dating a guy from AAA, even though she was in CMLL, right?
Mhm.
And they got into this was huge in Mexico. This probably happened last year, but they got into a fight because he was messing around, right? Which is like, and he grabbed her by the throat, right?
Ooh,
And she had marks on her throat, and it was a real big deal. And he actually went to jail, and he's still in jail, and then it turned
ooh,
into this thing where all the people that were on his side were saying, "Oh, she actually put her own fingers because they measured it or
uh,
some shit," and she made this up, and then Arena Mexico backed her up because in Mexico, as you can imagine, very corrupt. They put money so he couldn't get out of jail, and he even had his people, like people believed in his version of the story, doing marches, bro, that he was innocent. Like it was a real big deal.
wow,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
You can look that up. But yeah, he's been in jail for
So
like a
that I mean,
year.
so she still got the wrong kind of heat in Mexico.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. With the people that believe his story,
Yeah,
she's a
no, but I mean,
woman.
there's people
Yeah.
walking around that don't want her to be walking around.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sort of.
Yeah.
Not
But
saying you.
she's a great wrestler, bro. She's got a good look. Her shit looks very real, and that stands apart from a lot of the girls that you see that aren't trained right, are still green, and th're on TV. And I'm like, bro, why would you put, for example, in AEW, why would you put any girl on TV that isn't ready when you have Rampage and Collision? Let them go there, get their reps, and then when they're ready, you bring them to AEW.
Kind of logical, right? Kind of
Right,
logical.
right.
Kind of. And look, how do you think any woman, but Stephanie in particular, how hard of adjustment do you think it will be for her to transition to the WWE culture?
Well, I'll give you a good example, and I'm going to use myself and Rey Mysterio and the Luchadors as an example. So when we came to the United States, we really didn't know how to wrestle American style because there's no reason to. We were in Mexico wrestling lucha libre, so you kind of had to be deprogrammed. One of the best things that they ever did is, especially in Ray's case, because I got kind of thrown to the wolves, but especially in Ray's case, he had Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero that were showing him and training him, but he had the BD program because it's a whole different style and mentality and psychology. You know what I'm saying? Like I really didn't have a lot of people that helped me. Like I remember wrestling One Man Gang, and he was very, very, very uncooperative. You know what I'm saying? Especially
Mhm.
because he had lost the U.S. title to me, and he's probably thinking, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You know what I'm saying? Nobody had ever
Yep.
really heard of me. You know, so yeah, she'll take a, but that place is so professional, and they'll put her in the ring with the right people, you know, and so yeah, it'll take a little while to kind of get deprogrammed and learn that style. The good thing is that, unlike before, where Mexicans just wrestled Mexican style, and Americans just wrestled American style, and this kind of started in the '90s, Now there's a hybrid style where everybody knows a little Japanese, a little lucha, a little
Oh,
American
that's
style.
interesting.
Yeah. So she'll go in there and she'll know that international style. And I don't think it'll take her that long to fit in.
What would you do? Would you put her in NXT first, or do you think she's ready to transition to main roster?
Yeah, I would put her in the NXT so she can learn what style they want to do. And I don't know if she speaks English. you know.
But that was going to be my next question, because that's obviously, in terms of when I say adjusting to the culture, not only the style of wrestling, but as you know, um, going to work for WWE is like going to work for a telecommunications company. I mean, it's
Right.
very corporate. There are protocols and processes and procedures, and there's still, it's still wrestling. There's still a little bit of a culture there socially. And on top of that, she doesn't speak English, or maybe doesn't. That would be really hard, don't you think? I wonder if they'd put her with like uh, an assistant of sorts to kind of get her familiar and help her with her English. I mean, you can't just take somebody that doesn't speak the language, throw them into that process, and expect them to, swim upstream.
Dude, it's ridiculous because every person that ever went to the United States, I told them, learn English, get a fucking tutor or something online and learn English. And 95% of them didn't. But if you've noticed, the guys that did speak English, like I'll give you an example, Phantasma, he speaks really good English, you know, and that helps him get a push, you know. So she'll have to go in there and learn the language if she doesn't already know, because I'm not sure if she speaks English. I don't know why she would if she lives in Chile. But and that's gonna be part of the process of her, how they use her, you know what I'm saying? But all the in-ring stuff, how she looks, she's money.
Konnan, thank you so much for joining us. I know I called you, 2 hours ago and said, "Hey, I'm
It's all
running
good.
errands. Can you jump on with me?" And you were cool enough to join us. I appreciate it, because there's nobody that knows that world in Mexico and Lucha in general, and what's happening than you in this country. And I appreciate your time, my brother.
Anytime, my friend. Remember, we still on my bucket list is for us to go fishing.
It's right down the road.
Bro,
It's
you know what
right
I
down the
saw?
road.
Bro, how far is this from where you live? I saw a picture of P. Diddy rafting like in something hole, Wyoming or
That's Jackson Hole. That's about 180 miles from here.
all right, all right. Okay. I just was wondering. But
But Kanye
anyway,
West, Kanye West used to have a ranch right down the road.
really?
We didn't get P Diddy, but we got Kanye.
Yeah,
Well, he's
well,
gone now. He couldn't take
he's
it. He was
he,
gone after
he
about 2 years.
he's he's just as crazy. So
All right, we're going to wrap this up, Konnan.
all
Thank you,
right.
brother.
Be cool, my friend.
Thank you.
Peace.
And we're
All
going to
right.
wrap up a couple questions here, because we got a bunch of them. Thank you, Konnan, for joining us. And I really did. When that news broke, I was driving down the road. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pull over. I pulled over. Conrad said, "Oh, what can we get Konnan?" And I had already been thinking, how do I reach out to Konnan? I don't have his number. And then Conrad had it. So I called him right from the side of the road. He said, dropped it right. Absolutely happy to be there. Drop everything I'm doing. And he did. That's cool shit. Love him for that. All right, Super Dave, what do we got for questions? Phew, doggy. All right, from Eddie, another W guest on the show. Much love to everyone. Looking forward to Triple Mania, Konnan. Yeah, Triple Mania. I've never been there, Eddie. I'm gonna have to tap into my old buddy Konnan and see if I can get a ticket. What do we got next? Jim Cone, 1479. In 1997, WCW was building up that tag division, especially the Steiners, who I thought would win the belts at Hog Wild. Any reason you went in a different direction? Jim, I've got two choices in life. I either tell the truth or make shit up. And not that I've ever not made shit up. I was in the wrestling business, for crying out loud. But I've learned the hard way for all these years that when in doubt, just tell the truth. And I'm not sure that I remember talking about going in a different direction, or why, or what the thinking was behind it. And that's the truth. I just don't remember. It was like 25 fucking years ago, dude. Come on, ease up on me. I'm just kidding. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. What do we got? Super Dave, Pro Wrestle Clips. Tony Khan has Camille and Megan Baines sitting at home being paid since 2023 for nothing. Come on now. It's not going to be the pot calling some kettle black on that one. Truth is the truth. Vacker was more over than Monet. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm reading slow. Vacker was more over than Monet and is going to the big times. Absolutely. And I said that. I think I covered that show. In fact, I know we did. And I pointed out, I'm going to go back and listen to my own comments. But I did make a mental note. And I think I did point out that I thought she looked really good, because I had never seen her before. And now that you pointed out, I don't want to say she looked better than Mercedes, but I think the expectation was a little higher for Mercedes, obviously. And perhaps Stephanie exceeded hers and perhaps Mercedes didn't. That's my take on it. You know how that's going to play. Oh my God. I can't wait to see my Twitter feed tomorrow. Hell, tonight. It's going to light up. And if it gets to Tony, because this is Tony, Tony has a pattern when it comes to social media. If you notice, he'll stay real low. He'll do tune in tonight, super show. It's going to be the greatest show we've ever done. Oh, TBS loves us. Our dear leader, David Zasloff loves me. Oh, we have such a great relationship still. No deal yet. Not saying they're not going to get one. They probably will. I've been on record for saying that for a long time. There's no way anybody's going to know until it happens. I wouldn't place a bet to save my life. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because just because it gets another contract doesn't mean the show's going to get any better. By the time the next contract runs out, my YouTube channel will be getting higher ratings than Dynamite. All right, sorry, I'm going off on a rant. I do that every once in a while. Bernard. Would you guys agree that the demise of Vince McMahon brought upon the end of AEW? You know, I've read about psilocybin. It can be a good thing. Can be a good thing. Compared to Triple H's creative, Tony is outgunned. That's absolutely true. And I don't think, but I get your point. I'm having fun with you with the psilocybin comment because I was just reading an article right before we started doing the show. Look, if Vince McMahon could go back in time and none of the things that we've been reading about for the last year or so ever took place, nothing would have changed. Vince would have been in the position he's in, and Tony would not be doing any better. And WWE, in any meaningful way, would not be doing any worse. They would have been what they've been. And there's such a gap between Tony Khan's vision of what professional wrestling is and how to produce a professional wrestling television show and what's needed in the marketplace that, you know, Vince leaving didn't have any negative impact. AEW was going to go where they're going to go. If there was no wrestling, if WWE evaporated into thin air, if a freaking UFO was hovering above Stamford, Connecticut, and in a giant bluish white light that was so bright you could barely look at it, yet you still could, all the way from Kansas City, Missouri. That UFO would come down and just suck up a WWE headquarters and everybody associated with it. Whew. WWE would be gone. AEW would not do any better. There's a point of view for you, and I think I'm probably right. Wow. Next. I crack myself up sometimes, and I don't even know why, because I'm not funny. For Bash at the Beach 2000, you had your idea, Russo had his. What was Russo's pitch? Was Booker T involved? He did what he pitched. He just added in the commentary about Hulk Hogan to get himself over with the dirt sheets. Wanted Dave Meltzer to like him. So he cut a promo on Hulk Hogan because that's so fucking easy to do and always has been. Low-hanging fruit. And it's the same reason why when CM Punk made his debut in AEW, and the first thing he does, one of the first things he does in his promo was rip on Hulk Hogan, someone he's never met, doesn't know if he did meet him at a convention or something, doesn't know him at all, and never worked with him. And that because that's how Punk knew he could get himself over with that hardcore dirt sheet internet audience. It's low-hanging fruit. And when people go right after the low-hanging fruit, I lose respect for them. I expect more of them. I expect talent that reaches a certain level to not reach out for the fruit that's convenient, but to push themselves, expand their own horizons, get a greater reach, become more entertaining. But when you don't, it's it's just cheap eat. Off on a tangent. That's why I like the show. Like there's nobody to tell me I can't do whatever I want to do. Not that Conrad tells me what I can do or can't do, but you know, we've only got a certain amount of time. We've got ads, we've got all kinds of things we're doing. And here we're just having fun, or at least I am. All right. A few more questions here. We should probably go. Jacob Schwartz. Eric, That's me. I believe your understanding story building is underrated. Thank you for that. In AEW, I believe they either lack inciting incidents, somebody Googled storylines, or jump too quickly to the finale. I'm kidding. What's the silver bullet for them to make successful stories? First of all, Jacob, you're absolutely right. In that, if you listen to a lot of the commentary from AEW diehards, as Konnan was referring to them, they're very loud, they're very noisy, they're very, very firm in what they think they know about professional wrestling. And what they see on TV, they consider that a storyline. But a storyline has elements. It has ingredients. It's no different than a cake. There's a combination of ingredients and a process called baking, and you have to have the right measurements, and in some cases, put them in at the right time based on the cooking process, the baking process, in order to bake a world-class cake. It's a process with ingredients. It's not the source of flour in a bowl and, these are really cool eggs. These are Japanese eggs, guaranteed 5-star Meltzer eggs. Let's just crack those babies. This is how you crack. Japanese eggs are different now. You wouldn't understand unless you've studied eggs in Japan. Let's stay Meltzer. And we're going to throw those eggs in. And I don't know, should we just put it out in the sun, let it cook? Or I don't know, throw it in a microwave? How does a microwave work? Fuck, I don't know how a microwave works. Just put it in there and hit a button. Nah, let's not do that. Let's put it in the oven. How long should we put it in the oven? Oh, fuck, I don't know. Let's just throw it in the oven, put it on high and see what happens. That's how Tony Khan books wrestling. He's just throwing shit in the pot, putting it in the oven, hitting it, going. There's no real ingredients. There's not the right ingredients. A storyline needs to have a beginning and a middle and an end. Okay, that's simple. Yes, you have to have that inciting incident, that one moment that takes the subject, your character, your hero, or anti-hero as the case may be, and jerks them right out of their everyday existence and thrusts them into a new one, and thus the journey begins. And then you've got to have jeopardy along the way. You've got to have a lot of other elements / ingredients along the way in a storyline before you put the mucker father in the oven and cook it. Let's continue. Thank you, Jacob. That was fun. Ask a Bomb. We've heard from Ask a Bomb a couple of times here in the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate it very, very much, as well as I appreciate all of you who are members, exclusive members of 83 Weeks. I was chastised by my boss yesterday in a very classy way because, well, he's British. They can tell you to go screw yourself, and with that accent, you go, oh, well, fine, I'll go do that. But anyway, I was chastised because it's been several weeks since I've sent out any exclusive videos to our exclusive members here at 83weeks.com, and I feel bad about that. And I'm going to start overcompensating maybe tonight. I was originally going to start today, but now with this show popping up in my face, I may wait till tomorrow. So I have something interesting to say because I'm saying it all right here, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, I'll be on my shit. You'll be getting your videos. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. Sometimes I'll be out walking my dog. A lot of times I'll be out walking my dog. It's when I do my best thinking, by the way. But anyway, look for those. Okay, what do we got? Eric, you never called out Haku for suddenly leaving WCW with the hardcore title. Why not? What do you think? I mean, freaking Haku. Thank God. I was smart. Because I still run into Haku, Ming. I still run into Ming out on the convention circuit. And every time he sees me, he laughs, he smiles, he gives me a big old Samoan hug. Makes me feel good. Think of what would have happened if I'd have been calling him out. I'd have showed up at that convention. That would be bad. And I'm glad I didn't do that. Yeah, it's the truth. I just answer them truthfully. What do we got, Super Dave? The Crazed Haven. I almost said Raven because I see a Raven. Should the Insane Clown Posse be inducted in WWE Hall of Fame since they've wrestled in like every major wrestling company in the United States? I love that idea, and I suggest here at 83weeks.com we start a petition. We want Insane Clown Posse in the WWE Hall of Fame. Hashtag 83weeks.com. We're going to start that right now because it's going to take a while. This is not an effort that's going to happen quick. But we can gain momentum because I've got a hell of a cult following to this day. And I run into them out on the convention circuit too. And they are super great guys. I really, really enjoy being around them, and respectful, amazingly talented. I love their energy. They're batshit crazy. And that's the part I love the most. I dig it. Any memorable stories? I really, other than just hiring them and obviously being a part, although I didn't direct them, I didn't produce them. Kevin Sullivan and his team did. I didn't have any, working physical relationships in terms of television with them, but I enjoyed being around them and I appreciated what they contributed. They brought an edge to our product. It was something wacky, cool, and different at the time. And that's what Nitro was all about. They added a lot of that identity and helped brand us because they jumped on board and did their crazy, wacky shit. So it was fun. All right, I'm going to wrap this baby up. My boss told me YouTube doesn't like long goodbyes. So on 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody.